Get started here in just. All right, we got a couple of seconds here. We're going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to call the meeting to order for Tuesday, March the 5th. Everybody would please stand. We're going to say the pledge and then remain standing for a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing and think of our first responders, WeGo and fire department, all of our military, and for all of the sacrifices that they and their families make for us. Thank you very much. Have a seat, please. Welcome to the meeting. It is a hybrid meeting. We have Cody Bright joining us via Zoom. And we're going to ask the Zoom public to remain muted during the meeting and to raise your hand when you do have a question. People in the room will be given first opportunity to just have any questions or make discussion after the board and then the Zoom room people. Zoom participants will be given the second opportunity to speak. So we had an executive session after the board meeting last February the 20th to discuss legal matters. Usually we do that beforehand, but we did do it afterward that evening. Are there any public comments that anybody has this evening before we get started too far into the meeting? Okay. Anybody on Zoom? Good. We have no emergency services reports. We have no public hearings. And no financial report, but we do have an approval of the treasurer's report.
We want to, I'm texting with Dave now, so we want to skip around and do that.
We'll go ahead and skip that until we have our finance director with us. So we'll go under old business. Let's go ahead and discuss the carbon dioxide pipeline ordinance.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So we have discussed this at quite a few meetings at this point. This is in particular a ordinance 129A-2024, and it is for the carbon dioxide pipelines that are coming. And I discussed this and put in my memo at length in meetings past, but essentially it's a version of material that is coming out that is a byproduct of it is the carbon dioxide. It's a hydrogen pipeline. So we wanted to get out ahead of it more so than any other township. I think this is will be the first in the Commonwealth. So it is establishing setbacks and other safety standards for carbon dioxide pipelines should they ever come to fruition in East Goshen. So,
and to be clear, there is no discussion about any of these pipelines coming through this township at this time. There's nothing that we are aware of. We're just trying to be proactive.
And the biggest discussion point, I guess, again, over the last 3 meetings discussing this has been the setbacks, whether they're too much, whether they're just right. And I think the conclusion was we're kind of pretty far ahead of it. So there's not really much in the way of case law or other ordinances to take a look at. So just one of those times where we are, gonna get out in front and see how it works out at the other end of it.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah. So
then I would be happy to entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, I move we pass ordinance 129A-2024.
Use the microphone. Thank you. That's right.
Madam Chair, I move we pass ordinance 129A-2024, an ordinance amending the East Goshen Township Code to include chapter 127, a new standalone chapter governing carbon dioxide transmission pipelines.
I'll second the motion.
With the correction that it's chapter 172. And thank you very much. Are there any questions from the board members at this time? This has all been discussed and vetted pretty thoroughly. Are there any questions in the audience regarding this ordinance? Are there any questions on the Zoom platform? Cody, do you have any questions?
no, ma'am.
Excellent. Seeing no questions, I'm going to call this question to a vote. Those in favor of passing this novel ordinance? Thank you very much, everybody.
I just want to make a note for the record that, I want to ask, that we did publish it. I just want to make sure that that's in the minutes.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks,
I've
Mark.
given that to Jess to make sure. Okay, let's go ahead and consider the the mailbox reimbursements as well, since we're there, and then we'll get back to Dave in a few moments.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So again, this is one of those things that we talked about last meeting. I did get some inquiries of residents about our reimbursement for broken mailboxes during plowing season. Most of the time, it is the actual snow that hits the mailbox, not the plow itself, but it can be a hazard of doing the job, particularly if their wood's rotted out underneath or if it's made of a brittle material. So it does happen. There's no real standard here. Townships do it all differently. So we had in the past done a $25 reimbursement to homeowners that suffered damage. This is before anybody else time on the D-House here. This was implemented. So looking at how much things cost today and how long it was since that was implemented, we had a discussion last meeting to increase it from $25 to $50 reimbursement. And after some discussion, the board became amenable to that and was okay with me crafting a resolution in order to increase it to $50. So that resolution is attached and it is for your consideration.
Thank you, Derek. Is there a motion regarding this resolution?
Madam Chair, I move to pass the resolution 2024-06, establishing the reimbursement amount for the damaged mailboxes during snow removal operations to $50.
I'll second.
Thank you very much. Does anybody, Cody, do you have any questions?
No, ma'am, I'm good.
Is there anybody on the board who has any questions about this? Is there anybody in the room with regard to this? On our Zoom platform, is there anybody who has a question about the mailbox resolution? And seeing none, I'm gonna call the question. Those in favor of this resolution, aye,
Aye.
Aye.
and no opposed. Thank you. And let's go ahead and do the Malvern Library board appointment, if we could.
Thank you. So we did get information from Maggie Stanton, who is the executive director at the Malvern Public Library, that one of the board of trustee members that is an East Goshen resident, Rebecca DiNucci, is leaving the board. Therefore, how that works is we replace her with another East Goshen resident. Maggie did give me information of somebody that was interested in taking this position. That was Shannon Duran. Her resume is before you tonight. I did send that electronically to each board member last week. And her appointment to the Malvern Public Library Board of Trustees is up for your consideration.
Okay, would there be a motion from anyone on the board?
Madam Chair, I move we appoint President Shannon Doran to fill the open East Goshen trustee position on the Malvern Public Library Board of Trustees, replacing outgoing member Rebecca DiNucci. And I would also like to add that we thank Rebecca for her service.
Thank you for that, John. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, we'll all second that. And truly, we really do appreciate all of Rebecca's work with the library. Does anybody have in the room, does anybody have any questions regarding this appointment? Are there any questions? Excuse me?
She's online, should be
I was
acknowledged.
just gonna ask if anybody has any questions on regarding this appointment. There's Maggie. Thank you for joining us, Maggie. Did you have any questions or anything to say?
No, just thank you as always for all of your continued support and thank you for considering Shannon for the position.
That's terrific. Thank you for being here. And I think we're gonna go ahead and call the question. Those in favor of appointing Shannon, then it is Sharon, Shannon.
Yeah, she's online as well.
Shannon, did you want to say anything before we make an appointment? Before we make a vote?
Yeah, I just appreciate your consideration. I'm an East Goshen resident. I have 4 small children and use the library quite frequently. So excited for this opportunity and to represent the township.
Thank you very much for stepping up. We really do need residents to come out and volunteer for these things. It's just so vital. So we really do appreciate your efforts in that regard. I'm going to go ahead and call the vote. Those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you so much. And
Thank you
congratulations.
very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, let's go ahead and just finish under new business, the Applebrook maintenance project. Derek, do you wanna?
Sure, this was actually an escrow that we released partially last meeting. This is a much smaller amount, but it was $186,000 and change for the last escrow release. On the sheet, it said 189. I think John asked what the difference was, and this was actually the second escrow release was the difference. That was the $3,500. So this is escrow release number 2 for Applebrook Golf Club in the midst of their turf maintenance area upgrade, and it's been reviewed by the engineer and codes and recommended for approval.
Okay. I guess we need to have a motion on this.
Madam Chair, I move that East Goshen approve the additional $3,500 that's being requested for the completion of the sanitary sewer system for the Applebrook Golf Club turf maintenance area.
You,
Second motion.
thanks, John. Are there any questions about this on the board? You have any questions? No, you're good. Cody, you're good with that? Any questions?
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any people in the audience here who have questions regarding this release of escrow? And on the Zoom platform, seeing none, I'm going to call a question. Those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. All right. Let's bounce back to old business. Approval of treasurer's report. Dave, you okay?
I am.
All right. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Treasurer's report is for weeks, February 15th, 2024 through February 29th, 2024. EIT collections, LST collections, insurance payments for damaged equipment, permit and codes, fees, rent, escrow charges, and parks and rec registrations and rentals drove our general fund revenue during this period. General fund expenses included our monthly legal contribution, engineering services, stormwater materials and rentals, insurance, and other routine operational expenses. Our capital reserve fund incurred expenses for security software upgrades and implementation. Bond fund incurred $117,000 of expense for Milltown Dam construction and engineering costs. And our infrastructure sustainability fund incurred $9,000 of expense for Bow Tree Pond rehabilitation. Got any questions on the bills?
I have one or two questions. Your notes down below the fund incurring $117,000 for Milltown Dam. Are we pretty much paid up on that, or do we owe money?
We still owe, I think the balance is just under 700,000.
I'm sorry.
I think the balance is just under 700,000.
Oh, okay.
They're a little late coming with the payments. We have the engineer, Gannett Fleming, is reviewing them, and then he's approving them. Then we make sure that Mark Miller's good with it. Then we're paying them. Once you guys say that it's okay.
Okay.
They actually just submitted something today, so that's a chunk of it, but they're nearing the end. So hopefully we can get this all wrapped up. I did look at total expenses to date. Actually, we'll get pulled up. It actually is not great, but with the revised Milltown look, project-wise, the partial breach, finishing all of that, and looking at where we will be, it looks like we'll have about $600,000 of we should end up about $125,000 under budget.
That's great.
Well, that's wonderful.
And then we should probably have about $600,000 in additional bond money remaining, which would afford us the kind of things that we've talked about before. For I know Cody's been a proponent of doing a trail around or planting some things, trying to get some things going earlier than later.
Yeah, I have some information on that later on too, so.
So to be clear, can I just ask you, said 125, about 125 under
Under the original budget, yeah.
and about 600,000 left in the bond fund that would be able to be used for this project?
This is the final project
Yeah.
from the original general bond
About
2017.
600?
It's over 600, but
Okay.
that's a minimum. If
That's
there
great.
are additional change orders and things, then we can still deal with it.
That's great.
And that's assuming that we max out everything that we originally allocated to Gannett Fleming already. So we wouldn't have the out-of-pocket costs probably for, I've already included what they had quoted us to continue to do improvements around the town.
That's fantastic. Can you explain to us about the capital reserve fund expenditure for the security software upgrades?
Yeah, so we, with our new IT vendor, there are a number of computer systems that are very much behind. We are getting caught up to date. We couldn't change things internally. Derek, Lynn from Public Works, and I think Ashley really focus on all the access points, things like that. So to get us up to date, we needed about 3-4 levels of upgrades in software. To do that, we needed a new computer. So you already approved the computer. Now this is to get that software, all of the implementation done, and that should make that done.
Dave, is this totally different from the Edmunds upgrade?
Yes, sir. This is primarily the security of the building.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
I'm good.
That's great. Does anybody else have any other questions?
I can eliminate I had a request earlier this today about the types of, you all got in your packets, the different payments for bonds, principal and interest. And Michelle specifically called me and just said, could you read out for everybody what those interest rates are? So, the 2017, general fund bond, as well as the sewer operating portion are 2.7% interest. That's by far the best rate that anybody's gotten in a long time, and probably we will for the foreseeable future. The 2013 sewer operating note is 3.1%. That debt is paid in 2033. The sewer operating fund 2008 is at 4%, and that's not done until 2032. And I've investigated trying to see if we could refinance some of these. Unfortunately, the bond is the only one you could do, and right now we'll be underwater on it. But the notes, they have, I think the reason that Ultra was smart enough to begin with was to get the AAA rating so that we could go for better interest rates. The notes themselves have caveats in them, which are basically, if you pay off this early, it doesn't matter.
Okay,
So you can't really refinance it and save money.
thanks for going the extra couple of steps there. I
Sure.
appreciate that.
Madam
Okay.
Chair, I just have one quick question.
Go ahead, Cody.
Dave, thank you. Dave, I noticed that we had 5 residents reach out regarding the $25 mail box reimbursement. Do you mind just keeping us up to date once, hopefully at this point, the snow is concluded, but once it's done, to give us an update sort of how many people have requested a reimbursement? I think this is probably the highest at least we've had in the last 2 years I've been here. Obviously, we haven't had much snow, but if you could just keep us up to date, that would be helpful.
Sure, absolutely.
Thanks. And with that, Madam Chair, I move that we accept the receipts and approve the expenditures as presented in the expenditure register and as summarized in the treasurer's report.
I second that motion.
Thank you very much. Do any other board members have any other questions for Dave or Derek regarding the bills? Anybody here in the room, any questions regarding the bills or on our Zoom platform? Seeing none, I'll call the question. Those in favor of paying the bills? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Derek, we're moving along here. We've got the standing issues and projects, the Milltown Dam project.
So the Milltown Dam project, the dam itself, obviously the work's being done. It is, I'm gonna knock on wood, but on time and under budget as of right now, which is what we like to hear. We did get together this week, myself, Dave, and Mark Miller and I. I'm going to be bringing to the board, I won't mention it tonight, but on the March 19th meeting, I'll have a little bit more as far as graphics up on the screen. One of the issues, we're trying to start thinking about possibly any of the small enhancements we can do in order to keep that going along. We know we didn't do all the reservoir enhancements as it was spelled out in the plan. But there's a portion of it we think we can do in-house, and it's a little bit of a time sensitive issue because we have the dirt and the earth moving down there right now and the fill. There's a portion of what was supposed to be a trail in the enhancements right along Reservoir Road going from the dam all the way close to Strasburg and looping back around. And it was supposed to be a parking lot. I forget exactly how many spots. And also some plantings, wildflowers and things of that nature in order to just enhance the beautification of the entire reservoir. So again, it's a very scaled down portion of the enhancements that was proposed that we did not go along with in September. But we want to bring this to the board, and not only is it a good idea to keep some of that moving, and we could do it in-house, we don't have to go out to bid. And the material we need is right there, right on site now. So it's, again, a little bit of a time sensitive issue. So I just wanted to brief the board on that tonight, and I can individually answer questions as it comes up in the next 2 weeks, but also we'll have some more things on it March 19th.
Okay,
So-
can I make 2 points?
Sure.
Number one, Cody and I have promised that we get together as soon as possible with Mark Miller and go down and take a look at it, because we're both interested in enhancing the Milltown Dam area. Number two, I want to ask my colleague Pete Hicks, who is the liaison for the Park and Rec. The Park and Rec Commission is reviewing an Eagle Scout project to put bat houses in the park. And I would like to see those bat houses, but I would like to see them in the Milltown Dam area, because that's where we've had so many complaints about mosquitoes and that sort of thing. I think they'd be better there than in the regular park, in the main park. Okay, thank you.
To piggyback on that, we've also got, Aqua's doing work in the nearby area,
Mhm.
which Derek alluded to all the dirt that Milltown already has. Dirt would normally cost us. Some of the vendors that we have been in communication with pay up to $125 to get rid of dirt, as long as it's clean, toxin-free, all of that stuff. No millings, everything. We could get that at the very least free right now, and then rent some equipment and start spreading.
And how soon can we decide to allocate funds for that? Can we decide that at the next meeting?
Yeah, I mean, if we have, Dave and I already started talking about some numbers. Obviously, it's very small compared to what we were talking about before in September. But yeah, we can have numbers, as far as the cost of it with the at the March 19th meeting. For sure.
How's that sound to you, Cody?
That sounds fantastic. And one thing I want to add, if that's okay, obviously I'm very supportive of this project, but two, I also invited Barbara to go down to the dam as well, simply because she stood on election day with me back in November, and she heard some of my friendly residents, neighbors, and their concerns about this project as well. But obviously every board member is invited to go down with me. I live right down the street and be happy to walk that with them. So that obviously is open to you, Michelle, Chair,
Absolutely.
and Peter. So
I usually get over there a couple of times, about once a month or so, sometimes twice a month with Mark, so. I'm
perfect.
pretty well updated on that myself. Thank you though for that awful quick, Cody. Bowtree Pond then, Derek?
So the pond itself is actually, we're done the dredging portion of it. It's now all about the restoration of the area, which could be an elongated process. So even though all the equipment's gonna be moved out, we still have the bags over there drying out, and we talk about seeding and strawing and make sure that's restored. It could be the better part of 2024 before that looks 100% complete, but the actual construction work is done.
Okay,
So
This is a great time to
Great.
see.
it is, but there's more to restoration with this project than just that. But yeah, it is a good time to see it right now. And we'll be doing that soon.
okay. Board members, are there any other matters that you need to bring up? Cody?
I don't have any, but I think, Madam Chair, you are going to beat John's record, so I'll let you continue.
Pete, do you have any other matters? No.
I'm gonna read along soliloquy
Don't
here.
even. All right, I'm gonna skip over public comment for just a moment. Are there any liaison reports from the board? From any of the?
Planning, but planning is just rolling along.
Moving along, and we know that ESAC's gonna be sending us memos in the next meeting, so
Perhaps.
hopefully. So,
ESAC I met with them and they're enthusiastic, hardworking, and thinking creatively about how to be invitational and educational in response to the resolution that was adopted last fall.
great, that's perfect.
I could chime in with
Yeah.
the municipal authority.
Oh, that would be great, thanks.
Excuse me. So I met with the chairman, Dana Pizarro, of Municipal Authority. We're looking at our revised 10-year sewer projection between the operating fund and our reserve fund. Looking at rates, possible increase to rates. What we're gonna work on proposal. It looks like a rate increase that would be recommended, requested. I fleshed out a first pass. I went through it with Dana for about 3.5 hours. A lot of different items came up. I met with Mike Maffa, the superintendent of wastewater over at the West Goshen Sewer Authority today, with Mark Miller for about an hour. To gauge their costs, because obviously our increases are also tied to what we owe them, which is 16.67% of all of their capital costs, as well as operating and maintenance fees, which continue to go up. So talking with him on when they think they're gonna wrap up this production on their CIP plan, that's the capital improvement plan, which has been since 2016, 2017. We're millions of dollars into it already, and the ongoing costs are gonna be higher than we've been used to in the past. So as far as the asset management of our own assets, managing our costs as best we can, utilizing public works, the vendors that we know, limiting what we've got to do, refurbishing, things like that. We have our own things to do, but we've also got an outside party to worry about their costs. And based on the 1977 contract, it doesn't look like we have a whole lot of wiggle room with leverage.
When does that contract end? Or is it in perpetuity?
Perpetuity.
Okay, thank
As
you,
long as we send them wastewater.
thank you.
Could it be renegotiated?
Anything's possible.
All right, Michelle, you're gonna look into that, aren't you?
Dave and I will have some discussion about that.
All right.
Okay. All right, so I'm gonna bump back up to public comment. Yep. So, are there any people in the room who would like to make comment this evening? Come on up, please introduce yourself and just spell your last name if it's an unusual name, please. Right here, yep, and you can just pull the microphone down, just speak directly into it, please, thank you. I'm probably shorter than you are, so I have to pull it down too.
Okay, my name is Meg Gregory, 1239 Waterford Road. I'm here tonight to bring attention to and request action regarding the issue of speeding on Waterford Road through our neighborhood Charter Chase and on Worstein Road, specifically in East Ocean, though it is a concern throughout the length of Worstein. Over the last few years, several neighbors and I have contacted Public Works Director Mark Miller regarding the concerns about speeding, citing many examples of dangerous situations. Recently, at my persistent urging, which I'm sure he will share with you, the number of emails I have sent him, there were traffic studies and electronic speed readings done on Waterford. As far as I'm aware, no such studies have been completed on Worstein. The speeding is out of control and needs to be addressed before someone is hurt or worse. We have been told that nothing can be done on Worstein because there are several townships involved. And frankly, I'm not willing to accept this. At minimum, stop signs can be installed on Worstein where it meets Waterford. The signs would be in East Goshen and would at least pause traffic. As far as the speeding within Charter Chase, I propose that at least 2 more speed humps be installed. The speed humps seem to be the only deterrent to the speeding and cut through traffic, which is worse than ever. Our neighborhood, as I'm sure you are aware, has a community pond, clubhouse, playground, tennis court, and pool. These wonderful amenities draw our neighborhood families together and encourage lots of walking and biking activity on the street all year round. We highly value the walkability of the neighborhood and the convenience of these fabulous amenities. Therefore, it is imperative that the speeding concerns are dealt with immediately. The addition of stop signs and speed humps are 2 very tangible and easy fixes to an increasingly dangerous situation. I implore you to take action quickly before we have a tragedy. Thank you for listening, considering my suggestions.
Thanks, Ms. Gregory. Just so you're aware, this is the first that I'm personally hearing about it. I don't know if anybody else on the board has heard about it from anyone, but this is the first I'm hearing about it, so we need a little bit of time to look at the situation and see what traffic studies have been done, which ones haven't been done. A lot of times, the first thing is, you know, people think that the right thing to do is go right to speed humps. And please understand that that could be something that can be considered. It's just a matter of speed humps are very hard on emergency equipment, trash trucks, our public works team, trucks when they're coming through to plow. So that's, all those things combined, we generally don't look at speed humps as being the first best option. We look at signage and how we can mitigate the problem before we go to that speed hump. So don't think that that's where it ends. It's just a function of, we have to look into this a little further.
We
So
do
thank
have
you.
2 speed humps on water.
Yes, yes, right. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. If anybody else has any comments, come on up.
I do.
Come on up to the microphone, please. Just introduce yourself. You no longer have to give your address. That's something that has gone to the wayside. Just your name.
Mike Montgomery.
Thank you. And you're,
Oh, geez.
are you an East Goshen resident?
Yes, I am.
Thank you.
I live at the corner of Morstein and Waterford Road.
Mm-hmm.
And so my driveway is on Morstein and I face Waterford Road. And been there like 30 some years. And the road from Booth down to King. If you guys were there to witness what happens mostly in commuter time, is crazy. I was doing yard work a few months ago. And an East Coast policeman was sitting across the street from my house. I was doing leaves and I walked out to say hi, talking to him, and a motorcycle went by just before that. I said, "That's crazy. Do you see that he's going 100?" He goes, "No, 110. 110 miles an hour. A kid on a motorcycle. Before you know it, I can hear him up on 202. That's how fast he went by. And I could understand when I said, "Look," he goes, "You can't, that's crazy, more havoc. When I put my lights on, I go chase it." So it's a real problem. And I've lived there a long time. And 4 kids that luckily didn't get hit by it. So. Yeah, yes, taking that run. So when Meg said she was coming. Hope you guys understand it's a real problem.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Thank you for coming tonight. It is an important issue. Is there anybody in the Zoom room who has any questions? Make sure to raise your hand if you do. Is there anybody else in the room here who has a comment or question regarding anything at all? Okay. Nobody on Zoom has their hand up there?
Does not look like it.
Okay. All right. Then we come to the end of our meeting. It looks like we appreciate your comments, that it's not where it stops. We'll talk with you after the meeting as well. So if you just hang out for a few minutes, that'd be great. Anybody want to make a motion to
Madam
adjourn?
Chair, despite my my in-person attendance, first off, thank you to the residents who I can't see that attended. But second of all, I'd like to make the motion to adjourn. And congratulations, Michelle, on the quickest meeting in my 2 years. So
Second motion.
Those in favor of dismissing?
I
Thank you.
Okay, so